Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. What an exciting week it's been around the world for all those people that are investing in the stock market, or maybe not wanting to invest at the moment. The world seems to be in free fall at the moment. And look, I'm not going to go on too much about whether it's right, wrong or indifferent. All I'm going to say to you is maybe this is a precursor to what we can expect with Pluto in Aquarius. I'm not sure that that's necessarily true, but it sort of seems to be the only logical answer I can put to it at why everything seems to be in such a chaotic turmoil at the moment. And let's hope that things settle down soon. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week really sort of reflects this a little bit. It's the Seven of Pentacles. And when I drew that card before the show, I thought this is a very, very apt card for the week around the world, where everybody sort of feels a little bit of the work frustrations that are going on at the moment, a little bit of hard work needing to be done at work or a situation in your life. So normally what I would teach my students is when you see this card, it's a time for reassessment. Yes, it looks like, you know, the gentleman there's leaning on the shovel, looking at the work he's got in front of him. And maybe that could be true too, that he is contemplating what his next move is and how to go about it. But quite often we find ourselves in a situation at work where we might be in a little bit of a frustrating situation, and we need to sort of stop, look and listen and sort of work out what's the next plan of attack, how we approach things. And sometimes that's even appropriate in the rest of other areas of our lives too, that not everything in our lives always goes smoothly. We have to look, reassess, work out what's the next direction. Can we keep going on this path, or is it time to sort of maybe deviate a little bit, go a little bit of a different direction, modify something? So this is sort of asking you to sort of just stop, take a breath, have a look at what's going on around you, whether it be work-related or whether it's a personal level or something that it needs to be sort of dealt with. Look at whether there's maybe another solution, or do we need to just sort of slow things down a little bit and come back and approach it in a more gentle, more organised fashion. Sometimes I think we get our emotions are in a little bit of a tangle and we sort of get a little bit head up about things. But sometimes by just stopping, going and having a coffee, going for a walk, you know, watching a movie, we come back to it and we look at it through a different set of eyes. And maybe that's what's the message here, is it's asking us to do that, is to reassess everything, and it won't look so insurmountable, because the look he's got on his face there is the fact that this all looks to be very, very difficult. So we're going to move on to the astrology section of the show now. So the sun is still in Aries, and I'm feeling quite buoyant about that. Not that I'm an Aries, but I'm a fire sign. I always like it when the sun's in a fire sign. It sort of gives me loads of energy and optimism for the future. And it is the beginning of the astrological new year, for the beginning of the astrology new year. So it's a very, very exciting time where people sort of quite often feel a little bit restless. No matter what your star sign is, you can be feeling a little bit restless at the moment. Sort of, what have I done? We're into April. You know, the year's starting to creep away. Have I achieved the things that I put on my list at the beginning of the year, the things that I wanted to achieve as far as my New Year's resolutions or the aims and the goals that I had for this year? So it's a time of a little bit of reassessment there as well. So it's a time that we really need to sort of try and get up off the couch, start to get things moving, even if it's only in our mind, even if they're not ready to be sort of, you know, pull the trigger on it for another 3 or 4 months. Just double check, triple check that everything's on target, everything's where it needs to be, ready for when you are ready to make those sort of changes in your life. So again, happy birthday to all the Aries. I know that they really do say that they don't like their birthdays, but secretly they do. They really enjoy the attention that comes with being an Aries. So really important that you make sure you acknowledge their birthdays as well. So it's very, very important at the moment. So the sun is actually conjunct or holding hands Chiron, which is not actually a planet. This is where we look for the wounded healer part in the chart, where things that are coming in from a past life that we may need to sort out. So we need to be sort of looking at what it is that needs healing in our lives. So this is predominantly for fire sign people, which is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. It will wash over the other 8 signs, but not quite as intense as it is for those 4.
Okay.
So if you've got something that needs to be healed from the past, or something that is bothering you, or something that you keep sort of getting strong feelings about, it's asking you to process it, to look at it, to deal with it. And sometimes thoughts come into our minds that we really can't sort of correlate to anything that is quote going on in our lives at the moment, but it might be something from the past, or it might be a recurring dream, or it might be something that you don't even understand. Let's try and look for the hidden meaning, or what could this be relating to. And sometimes when we have peculiar dreams of a night, it is sometimes not just our current life that we're living now. Sometimes it's a sneak peek back into one of our past lives, and something that wasn't resolved, some sort of issue or situation or karma that wasn't resolved, that we need to sort of just acknowledge it and just release it in this lifetime. We don't necessarily have to do the lesson all the time. We just have to acknowledge it was there and thank you very much and let it go. So that's really important. So we have Venus, the planet of love and affection, is going retrograde. Now, Venus has been going retrograde for a couple of weeks now. We'll finish up in the next 3 or 4 days. And it's sitting in Pisces. Now, the reason why I'm starting with this without all the other planets that are going to tag along here is that Venus sometimes gets very, very misunderstood when it's going retrograde. It doesn't mean it's the wrong time to start a romance. What it means is make sure that if you're attracting somebody that's completely different from anybody that you've attracted in the past, is this right? Is this what you want? Or are we swinging the pendulum a little bit too far the other way? You know, just because we've had issues in the past where we've had broken hearts and romances that haven't worked out, it doesn't mean the whole relationship was completely wrong. It's just parts of it didn't either work for you or work for them. It was the wrong timing or whatever the case may be. So we don't necessarily need to swing the pendulum completely the opposite side. We need to find a little bit of balance. And this is why I think here with Venus going retrograde, it's asking us to bring balance in more than ever. You know, if you've met somebody that's completely different or a different culture to what you're used to dating or going out with, then look at the reasons why you've attracted this person. Is this sort of opening up a whole new opportunity for you to get to know, you know, somebody different from a different walk of life or has a different belief system to you or a different religious background, that, you know, you've got an opportunity for learning and you know, encompassing this into your life? Is it just that you're doing it because you made a promise to yourself that you want somebody completely the opposite from your past love? If that's the case, I'm going to say err on the side of caution, because sometimes swinging the pendulum that far is not necessarily the answer either. So Venus is conjunct or holding hand Saturn. Saturn is the planet of discipline, like the father figure in the chart that says, whoa, hang on a minute, slow down. Let's just look at where things are going. Let's just take our time. Let's not be in a hurry. Let's make sure that we're really analysing and looking at the situation and not just going there because somebody says you can't. And sometimes I think we're our own worst enemy in that way. When somebody says, no, 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 you shouldn't do it, we'll say, well, just watch me, I'm going to do it anyway. And, you know, sometimes we can put ourselves into precarious situations and stay there longer than what we should have because we've made such a song and dance about nobody's going to tell me what to do and I'm the boss of my own life. And we all done that at some stage or another. So Saturn here is conjunct or holding hands, which is with the North Node, which is again not a planet. The North Node is showing us the way forward. It's showing us what we're aspiring to achieve, what we're hoping to achieve. And don't forget, Venus was the one that was heading up the train. So it's what we're hoping to achieve on a love front. Now, the North Node is also conjunct Mercury, the planet of communication, which we've got to make sure that our communication, how we talk with people and everything is very, very clear and concise. Isn't it wonderful now that Mercury's gone direct in the last few days and things are starting to get back to normal again? But all these planets that I've been talking about are sitting in Pisces, and, you know, the Pisces energy is lovely. It's, you know, the 12th sign of the zodiac. A lot of people describe it as the dustbin. I don't describe it that way. I describe it as having the power and the wisdom of all the preceding 11 energies before it, all the other zodiac signs before it, that Pisces sort of takes bits and pieces out of everything and makes everything unique and theirs and special, and sort of says, well, you know, have you thought about looking at it in quite this way? You know, so there's a lot of wisdom there with Pisces, and it's a very powerful sort of sign, and it always gets a bad rap from a lot of astrologers. But to me, it's one of the most powerful energies there because it does draw on that wisdom of the previous 11 signs. So if you're a Pisces, it's very much that message was directed at you, but also the other water signs, Cancer and Scorpio, the opposite sign of Virgo. Yes, it is washing over the other 8 planets, but it's a lot less. So it doesn't matter what your star sign is. If you're looking for love, go back and listen to what I've just said. This applies to you. Make sure that you're not just doing something to spite someone else or because someone told you you shouldn't. Make sure that it fits and it's right for you. And if that means that you're attracting somebody that's completely different from the partners that you've had in the past, then understand why this is. And maybe this is going to be the really greatest fit you've ever had and the greatest love of your life, because you've finally understood what your needs are and what you're seeking in a partner, and somebody that can complement you and make you feel whole. And that's what it's all about. So we move on to Neptune's just gone into Aries. Now, this is really, really interesting because Neptune's going to be in Aries for approximately 30 odd years. So we've got a long time to be talking about Neptune in Aries. Now, Neptune rules Pisces, and it's just moved out of Pisces after a very long time being in there. So what does Neptune in Aries mean, or how is it going to affect a lot of us? Now, first of all, it's going to affect the fire signs first and foremost, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. It will wash over to all the other signs. Now, in my experience as an astrologer, and I've been doing this a very long time, you usually start to find the impact of the energy is right at the beginning or at the very end. It's sort of like, as Neptune's coming into Aries, I've got to make a statement. I've got to come in with a thud. I've got to get your attention. So this is what's going to be going on. So Neptune is very creative, very mystical, sort of, wants everything to be sort of soft and breezy and gentle. Don't underestimate its strength, though, but it's asking you to bring out the creative side in you. Now, how is that going to sit comfortably with Aries that wants to get going and get up off the couch and motivate everybody and sort of get everybody moving and whatever? So maybe the role here of Neptune in Aries is going to be is asking us to look for creativity in different ways. Maybe we've got to look for different solutions. Maybe we've got to look at a different way. It will probably create a little bit of a fog where people don't know what they're doing or how they're thinking or why they're behaving that way, or, I just don't feel right. I don't feel as if I'm in control of my creative energy. For other people, it'll be sort of like somebody's turned the light switch on and everything's very crystal clear. So, and we'll probably all vacillate between both. There won't necessarily be, 3 days in feeling like you've got the lights on and 10 days that you haven't. It'll be it could be an hour by hour or a minute by minute thing. So just, be kind to yourself and work with the energy and sort of start to sort of understand that there may be some creative juices that are going to start bubbling up, and they may be in a very different way, and they may seem as if they've got a selfish hat to them, but maybe this is the way to get the project or the situation off the ground, and then we can start to encompass and bring in other people. So it's a very, very long time that we need to be sort of looking at this and working on how this sort of works. So it's going to be a very, very long time there. And, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So I'm going to say to you, sort of, start to enjoy this as Neptune beds into Aries. And I beg your pardon, it's not 30 years, it's 14 years. That, we've got a very, very long time. It might feel like 30 years by the time we're finished in 14 years' time. But it's a time to sort of really embrace what's happening in our lives and work with the energies. Astrology is not something that we should turn around and say, we'll dismiss it because it's not right. We've got to understand how it personally affects us and then apply the information that I share with you each week on, hang on a minute, how does that work for me? How am I feeling? Am I feeling any of this? Am I feeling as if I need to sort of make some adjustments in my life? We've got other planets that I've talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks on the show haven't changed. Taurus, we've still got Uranus sitting in Taurus. We've got Pluto in Aquarius. Things are still moving around the zodiac, and we've still got Jupiter sitting in Gemini. I'm not going to reiterate those this week. If you want to know about that, go back to some of the previous shows. There's plenty of information there about the other planets and where they're sitting. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Tara in St. Paul in Minnesota. Are you there, Tara?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Tara?
Just wondering about a friend of mine that was murdered in 2016.
Right. And what did you want to know about that situation, sweetie?
I don't know, maybe how she really passed away.
Right, okay. Look, they're sort of very delicate sort of issues, Tara, that I normally don't discuss on shows like this, because the information that comes out on somebody that's passed away in such tragic circumstances is usually very personal, very private. What I can share with you is, can you just give me her first initial? I don't need her first name, just so I make sure that I've got the right connection here, sweetie. So what was the lady's first initial, please, sweetie? Tara? I'm not sure whether we've still got Tara on the line. Look, I'll go with the information that's been given to me. Um, what I was being given from a connection that I've tuned into is that this lady knew the person that actually took her life, and it was somebody that she trusted. It was somebody that she felt comfortable with. So it wasn't as if it was a sort of a total shock. I don't think that this was the intention of the person that performed the task that took her life, was the intention to take her life. It was their intention was to more sort of rattle her cage, to unnerve her, to sort of make her sort of feel as if she would bow to what they sort of wanted. Now, they haven't shown me whether it was male or female. I'm assuming by the energy that I'm picking up, it was a male. But I felt that there was more than one person here. It was sort of like I've got other people in the background, as if there were two or three other people there. And I'm not talking about a party, I'm talking about a gathering. It was sort of like I'm not sure whether this took place prior to her tragic passing or whether it was at the same time. But I'm going with the information that I'm being given. She's telling me that, she didn't fear this person. So it wasn't as if she was in an uncomfortable situation. It was just sort of something got out of control, and that's what sort of happened. And it's hard to sort of see when somebody sort of you care for and you love is taken in such tragic circumstances. Are you with us, Tara? No, I don't seem to have the connection with Tara. So I'm just hoping that, the information that I'm bringing to Tara is going to bring her some sort of relief or some sort of answers to the situation, because it is very, very tragic when somebody passes away. But it's even more tragic when we lose somebody's life through, where their life was taken and cut short by tragic circumstances. But I know, Tara, that your friend is around you. She's smiling. She's sort of saying to me, even though I'm gone, please don't be sad. Please do the things that we love to do in my memory. I'm there with you every step of the way. I see what's going on in your life. And she keeps giving me a big bunch of pink roses to show you how much she loves you. And she hopes that you'll find some sort of peace out of all this. She's found peace out of this. I'm not saying she's happy that she's gone, but she's made peace with it, and she's happy to sort of, to go on and do her job on the other side and sort of help as many people as she can. So I hope that gives you some sort of answers, some sort of clarity to some of the things that may have transpired. But she's telling me that she really didn't know that her time was coming to an end. It was very sudden. It was very quick. She was here 1 minute and gone the next, and she really didn't suffer. And that's the most important message she wants to share with you, Tara, is to sort of try and find some love in your heart again and move on, please. So we're going to talk with Donna on Long Island in New York. Are you there, Donna?
Yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Donna?
Nothing specific. I was just wondering, what do you see for me, or who do you see around me?
Okay, sure. I always ask to just make sure that if you've got a specific question, we get to it on the show. Really, really interesting, Donna. The first thing that they're showing me is there's a lot of change coming up. So have you been working towards bringing in some changes for 2025?
Not consciously.
Not consciously. Oh, well, okay, that's good. If
Yeah.
you've been doing it unconsciously while you're asleep, then it hasn't been such a hard slog, has it? So that's good. Yeah, but sometimes changes start to sort of ripple through, or I start to pick it up on an energetic level. And sometimes even before we're even consciously aware of it ourselves, because it's the universe's way of sort of, winding the motor up, of getting everything into gear, like slowly but surely we're turning everything over and everything's starting to get lubricated and we're getting ready. So I feel from about the end of this month, you're going to slowly start to see some very simple changes in your life. And they may be things that you almost say, well, is that really a change, or is that just, oh, well, it's nice that that's happened? Do you know what I mean? That things are sort of becoming a little bit easier. It's interesting because even though you say that you haven't been consciously working on this, they're showing me of a night when you're sleeping, they're doing an awful lot of work on you. Have you been waking up some mornings feeling exhausted?
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
energetic.
and that's right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, you wake up in the
What?
morning and you think, my God, I feel like I've run a marathon. I've been asleep for 10 hours. And that's what they've been doing. They've actually been working on you during the night. So don't look at that as, that you've done something wrong. It's just that, there will be times where you will wake up like that. And there'll be other days you'll wake up full of energy and think, wow, this is great. I've got so much energy, I can achieve this, this, and this, and this today. Make sure you pace yourself with that too. Would it be fair to say that you've been making some changes around where you're living? And I'm not necessarily saying, ripping down walls, but have you done a few little things like bought a new couch or put a new set of curtains up or something to make the place more
Actually,
your own?
we're working on the garden.
Right, okay. Because they're showing me everything starting to look really beautiful, like you're standing back and admiring things. So obviously if you're working on the garden, you must be happy with the inside then, are you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have orchids that are blooming, so I'm like looking at
Right.
that a lot, admiring it.
Yeah, well, that's good. Why not stand there and admire them? I mean, they're not out for very long. So, you want to make the most of it and enjoy things. They're just sort of showing me that everything in your life is starting to come together. Like things are starting to bloom, things are starting to happen, and they may be subtle. And yeah, take the time and enjoy your orchids and stand back and admire them and, let your heart flutter and think, gee, they look beautiful today. I'm so pleased I've got them, because I think we get so busy in our lives, we forget to stop and enjoy those pleasurable little moments that mightn't mean anything to anybody else, but they're worth more than money can say in your world. There's something that you're really
Yeah.
sort of getting some joy out of. The other thing that they were showing me, and I normally don't talk about health because there's so many different rules around the world, but they were showing me on an energetic level, whatever it is that you're doing, Donna, keep it up because you're actually more in tune with your body than you've ever been. So I'm taking from that you made some conscious decisions to make some changes in your life to sort of hopefully improve how you were feeling physically. Is that what you did?
Not necessarily, but I'm just wondering. Actually, I have a question. It's kind of related. Is that
Hmm.
I go out a lot to like jams, musical jams, just
Right.
going, dancing, enjoying the music. So
Hmm.
that could be the energy that I'm like, unconscious
Hmm.
exercise, I guess you'd say.
Hmm.
But lately I've been getting up and singing myself, and I'm just wondering, is that something I should pursue?
Oh,
And just enjoy
absolutely.
it, or
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm
I think you
thinking, should I
actually
take
should because I
lessons?
feel that everything in your life is coming together now. You know what I mean? If you do things that feel automatically right to you, then it can only get better.
Yeah. Well, I'm
And
just wondering if it's
go on.
something I should put my energy into it, you know, or is it just something I should enjoy whenever?
No, I think
I
you should
mean, like
put
to
your
take
energy into it.
lessons
I
or
think that's
whatever.
really good because,
Yeah.
it comes back to those changes that I was talking about at the beginning. It's like the universe is guiding you. You might have started going out because you enjoyed the music and you had such a good time, so you went again. And then, from that has led to this. And now you've got an opportunity to get up and sing, which you enjoy doing. And then, that could lead on to something more substantial. It might not take over the day job, but it's something that you love to do. And if you happen to get paid for it, well, that's a bonus, like it's great. And it's those
Yeah.
sort of things that we do that transpire over into our emotional and our physical well-being because we're doing something that we love. It's something that's like topping up our batteries all the time. And I think, life gets so busy that we forget to do the simple things in life, the things that make us smile, and they're the greatest healer of all. I mean, if you can stop and look and listen at those sort of moments and allow yourself to do something that you love, it radiates through you. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So, I
Yeah.
feel really excited for you. I think, your life is turning around. It's good. It's going into a direction that you didn't necessarily plan, but it's like, wow, isn't this lovely? I get the opportunity to make other people feel great. If people are enjoying what you're performing, then, you're sharing your love and your energy with them, and then they go away and become a little bit more motivated. And that's a good thing. We could do with a little bit more positivity in the world at the moment. Everybody sort of focuses so much on the negative things that we forget to stop and sort of enjoy these little moments, these little nuggets in our lives that really do fill our soul up. And, I to me, there wasn't any sort of great money pressure around you. It was sort of like everything in your life was floating along quite nicely. But if we can give you more on a soul level where you're sort of really feeling fulfilled, then that's a good thing too, because then that transpires into other areas of your life. And, you know, they were showing me from about the end of June, it's like your home is going to be filled with people. It's sort of people coming to stay, people coming for a visit, people coming over for dinner. It's sort of like this constant movement of people coming. So I hope you're ready for that sort of, all these visitors that are arriving one after the other. But that's a good sign too, that everything in your life is in balance, that, you're happy to welcome people into your home, you're happy to have somebody come over and have a meal, or, come over and have a cup of coffee, because everything's so pleasant in your life at the moment, but it's good. So I just sort of feel that, as the year goes by, you're going to look back and think, gee, I look younger in the mirror than I did 6 months ago. And that's because you're following your heart. You're following what is right for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go back and make you 20 again, but, you just look in the mirror and you can see that you're glowing, that, you're in tune with everything that is meant to be for you. So I hope that's helped you, Donna.
Yes, yes. One more question. There's this word that just keeps coming up, the word nature. And every
Right.
time I hear it, it's said 3 times.
Yeah, but I think that's just asking you to acknowledge that you're out in nature, you're looking at your orchids, you're just being a creature of nature. You're going wherever the energy is pulling you, and that's perfect. So I think you're doing very, very well. Anyway, that's where we're going to leave, Donna. We've come to the end of the show. The show goes very quickly every week, as I say each week. This week I want to leave you with a song that I tripped across by accident the other day, and it was sort of one of my favourite songs back in the 80s. I know that's showing my age. And it's a beautiful ballad. And the original people that sang it were the Righteous Brothers, but I actually prefer this version. And it's called You've Lost That Loving Feeling by an English singer called Long John Baldry and Kathy McDonald. And the rendition of this song and the two of them doing this duet is absolutely mind-blowing. It sends tingles down my spine even after all this time. I'm not sure whether it was a hit in the US, but it certainly was here in Australia. Got to number 2 back in the early 80s. And it's a song that sort of, I think, really sort of embodies the emotion of a relationship coming to an end, where, that person has lost that look in their eyes, that beautiful, loving feeling that they always had for us once upon a time, and now it's sort of gone. So I'll leave you with that song. And he is Long John Baldry. Apparently he was 6'7" in height. So he's very, very tall, and she was quite tiny when you see the film clip of the two of them together. But a beautiful rendition of a very, very powerful love song. So until next week, enjoy your week. Enjoy what life has got to offer, and get out in nature and just have some fun. So until next week, bye for now.